Google form. Like you should have a knife, a whisk, and like a spoon or like something that you can stir with. And then all of the ingredients, like you have the wet ingredients and the dries. And then the bowls. You'll have to have 2 bowls. And then have a clean surface to work on. I just have like a cutting board. And then also a sheet pan with parchment paper on it. So does everybody have everything they need?
2 students said yes.
Okay.
If you're,
and it's okay. And if you don't have stuff, take a minute, go grab what you need. We won't start until everybody's all ready.
In the meantime, we can start with the poll.
Yeah, we have a little poll. Go ahead and take that real quick. And also, if you want to preheat your ovens to 350, because you'll need those in about 20 minutes. You want to go preheat the oven? Yeah, so as you do that, like I said, preheat your ovens. Make sure you have your work surface. Would you mind switching it back to the gallery view, or like unsharing the screen real quick? Okay, thanks. So is everybody ready to begin? You can do like a thumbs up, or just let me know that you're ready. I want to take it slow so that everybody, nobody gets lost. Oh, it looks like we're maybe waiting for one more person. Kishari should be coming. Okay, but the rest of you are ready. That's great. I think we should wait for her because I don't want to start and then she would come in and be lost.
In the meantime, I'll just show the results of the poll really quickly from who answered. No one's ever made scones before.
Okay, this will be fun.
Yeah, but we do have people who've eaten them before.
Okay.
So I guess you guys know what scones are, have eaten them before, but haven't made them. So this will be exciting.
Yeah. I guess I can like talk a little bit about like my background a little bit. So I started working at a bakery when I was in my second year of college as just like a part-time job. And I just kind of grew to love it. So I work at a bakery where we make, of course, scones and other pastries like croissants, cakes, and then we also make sourdough. So I really enjoyed that, and it's kind of turned into like this like passion. I love baking like in my free time and experimenting with making different like pastries and breads. Yeah, so I've been making scones though for about 2 years. So hopefully you'll learn a little something and maybe you'll make these again someday for your family, or if you go to a party or something, maybe you can make the scones and impress people. But they are a little tricky to get perfect, but they're pretty easy to make once you kind of know a couple of the techniques. But yeah, I don't know how long we should wait.
Maleah, I think you can go ahead and get started because we're recording the event anyway. So if Kushari misses anything, she can catch up on the video.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so everybody's ready, so that's great. So good thing you don't have to measure the ingredients because I already did it for you. So that'll kind of make it easier. But the recipe is 2 cups of flour, some brown sugar and some white sugar. It's not a lot of sugar because scones are not meant to be very sweet. Usually the sweetness comes from the little toppings that are mixed in. In this case, it's going to be chocolate. And then the baking soda and baking powder, that's the rising agent, and unsalted butter. You have a bag of just regular flour, and you also have a bag of buttery flour. So what this is just flour and butter incorporated together to make little tiny pearls, which is gonna help them to be really moist. So you have that. And then for the wet ingredients, you need eggs, sour cream, and heavy cream. And those are all pre-measured out. And the one thing I do want to say though is your heavy cream, the recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup, but I give you 1 cup because sometimes you might need more than what the recipe says, just depending on like the temperature of your house. The flour could have been a little, more because I didn't measure it. I just did cups. And the most accurate way to do it is to measure it with a scale. So I guess the first thing we'll do is take your larger bowl. So I have this one. And you're going to take all your dry ingredients and just incorporate them together. And you also need your spoon. Would you guys prefer to have the recipe up or have the gallery view up?
Gallery view.
Okay. Because I think it'd be nice in case anybody wants to turn on their camera and kind of show what they're doing. I think that'd be fun. Okay, so take your big bowl and you're gonna need all your dry ingredients, including your butter flour mixture. So you can go ahead and dump that butter flour mixture in the bowl. And you have your sugars. So this is mine. I have my brown sugar and my white sugar. You can just dump that in. And then you have your baking soda and baking powder and salt. Those 3 things I put in the same bag. So you can just dump those in. They're pre-measured. And then your flour. What I want everybody to do is just take a little bit and put it like just a little handful, just like this, and put it on your board or your work surface because you're gonna need to flour it in order for the scones not to stick later. So take just a little bit to save it, put it on the board or your work surface, and then you can just dump the flour in. So that's all the dries. And once you have that all together, you can just kind of stir it up. Make sure that the brown sugar, there are no big clumps of brown sugar. Is everybody doing good so far? I think this is a pretty easy step. All right. And something to keep in mind too, as we're going along, is scones are kind of like biscuits. And when you bite into a biscuit, it's really soft and it doesn't have a lot of, strength to it like a bread would. That's because we don't have a lot of gluten in these. The gluten doesn't have much time to develop. It's not really worked very much like you would need a dough. So for scones, you want to try to mix it as little as possible as soon as you add in the wet ingredients, because the more you mix it, the more gluten develops, and we don't want a lot of gluten. We want it to be fluffy and moist and easy to bite into. So set that aside, and then we're going to mix up our wet ingredients. So you're going to need your smaller bowl and your whisk. And also can you guys hear me okay? Am I talking too loud or too quiet? Okay, thank you. All right, so take your small bowl and you're gonna dump in your, first crack in your egg, actually. Crack your egg. And then whisk that up just a little bit. Also, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat or unmute yourself and ask whenever. Okay, and you've kind of whisked your egg. Now you can put your sour cream in your heavy cream, just dump that in. With the sour cream, don't worry about if you get all of it out of the cup. I put a little extra in there just in case there was a little extra on the bottom of the cup if you couldn't get it all out. So don't worry about that. I'm not going to measure my sour cream because I have a decent eye on what a fourth of a cup looks like. So I'm going to estimate that there. And then our heavy cream. So for the heavy cream, remember, only do 3/4 of a cup. Now you have 1 cup measured in your cups. So just pour most of it in, just leave about, you know, like an inch of cream in the bottom. Just don't use it all because you might not need all of it. So I got 3/4 of a cup cream here. And then carefully whisk it. Try to get all of the clumps of egg and sour cream incorporated. So this is a nice smooth cream mixture. Also, I have a question. What kind of things do you guys like to bake? Like, if you like baking, what do you do? Do you make cakes? Do you make cookies? Are there like any traditions that you make during the year during holidays? You know, with any, like with your grandma or anything, or like maybe some like bakery sweets that you really enjoy, like you particularly like going to the store and picking up, you know, certain cookies or breads. You can just type that in the chat when you want.
I like making cookies and brownies.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh,
What kind
brownies
of cookies?
are so good.
It doesn't matter, but my favorite type of cookie is sugar cookies. I really like sugar cookies.
Yum.
Nice. Are those like the kind with the icing, like the pretty icing decorations on them?
No, just like the normal ones.
Oh, okay. I've seen like these beautiful intricate cookies. Like it's a sugar cookie and it's like a shape, and then you know somebody will have very intricate, beautiful like paint icing on it. It looks so cool. Okay, so
sorry. Someone else said
go ahead.
Making brownies and cupcakes. Cupcakes are always fun because you can decorate them.
Yeah,
like
so fun. All right, so this is the fun part. So you got your dries, you got your wets, and the only thing left that you should have is your chocolate chips. So take your chocolate chips and just pour them into the dries. You can have a couple as a snack if you want. It won't hurt the end product if you have a couple. Just mix those up gently into your dries. All right, after that, okay, is everybody set? Does everybody have their wets and their dries?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so you're gonna take your wets in your left hand or whatever hand you want. I just like to have my dominant hand being the one that's stirring. You're gonna actually, would you mind like, my sister is here. She's gonna point the camera at this so you guys can see close up what it looks like. She's my assistant for the activity. You can just like switch the camera. Perfect. So you're gonna slowly pour the cream into the dries, just a little bit, and then mix it. And you're gonna mix it kind of like this. You're not gonna like whisk it like a whisk. You're gonna kind of fold it up and just gently let gravity mix it for you. Because again, we don't want too much gluten development. We want to just leave the butter, the little butter pieces intact. We don't want to smush them too much. And then add a little more. You might do the, 3 or 4 times adding in cream. Just kind of scoop and turn, I guess you would like to call it. Add in a little more cream, and if you see any like dry spots, you can try to pour it in that little spot and then get most of it. We're trying to get most of it wet, and it's okay if you have a little bit of dry because we're going to knead it on the table just a little bit. Yeah, you might have a little bit of dry stuff at the bottom of the bowl, but you can, take your hands. You're going to get your hands dirty later, so don't be afraid of that. Kind of turn over the dries on the top. Put in some more cream. And I just used up all my cream, and I think I'm going to need a little more. I don't know about you guys, because everybody's is going to be different. But you can kind of see now there's like these big pieces forming. These are like loose, shaggy pieces of dough. And then you have a little bit of like powdery flour in the bottom. This is what it should look like. It should have these big, wet-ish pieces in there starting to form. And if you look closely, you can probably see a little bit of the butter pieces in there. That's good because we want those to melt and kind of make it flaky and buttery in the end. So I'm going to add just a little bit more cream. I just have like a little bit from this carton. I'm just going to do a little drizzle. And I'd rather it be a little dry than a little wet. Because if they're too wet, they won't bake right in the oven. So kind of continue, and maybe as you're getting towards the end, you'll develop one big dough ball. And in my case, I am pretty much there. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm at the point where I have almost one big piece of dough. And then after that, I'm going to just transfer it onto my floured board here. You want to just have a kind of even space of flour, and we'll pause there just so that everybody gets the chance to finish up. I just have a little bit of dry, unincorporated flour in there. You can just leave that in. It's not going to be that necessary. So at this step, we'll just pause, and if you want to put it back on the thank you.
Mine doesn't look like yours. Mine is a little more like wet. I think I put too much cream in.
Okay, that's okay. Do you have any extra flour?
Yeah, I do.
You can sprinkle in a little bit of flour if you need. And
okay.
It will be like wet. It's going to be wet. You don't want it to be like dripping, but as long as you can kind of have like one mass of dough, then everybody's is going to be different. When I make scones in the bakery, some weeks it's wet and some weeks it's dry, and it's kind of, you have to, when you're baking, you have to kind of be really observant and pay attention to how your dough is acting.
Okay.
How's everybody else doing?
Mine is pretty good.
Okay, great. How are you doing, Shelly?
Good.
Okay. So Danita, if you can just get this piece of dough, it's okay if it's a little wet. Use some flour to flour your board so it doesn't stick. I think that's the most important thing, is that you don't want it to stick. And also you guys can get your pans ready, because at this point we're gonna shape this piece of dough, and then cut it, and then it's gonna go right into the oven, and that's it. That's all it is. This is probably the hardest part, is getting the dough to be the right consistency and the right shape. You might have to help me again to do the video. How are you doing now, Danita?
It got better, yes.
Okay. All right. I think we're good to move on then. So now we're gonna shape it. So you're trying to go for like this cake looking thing. Mine is just like a little like pile of dough. So do you want to help me? So I'm going to show you how to shape this in just a second. Got it? Okay. So have it. Yep. I think it looks good. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay. So you're going to use your right hand, or whatever dominant hand, you're going to be using that to press it down. And then you're going to use your left hand or your other hand to shape the sides. And so you're going to kind of press along the top and the sides, just like this. And you can kind of rotate it or rotate your hands. That also works. But you don't want it to get too thin. You want it to be about, that thick. And then maybe about the size of your hand. It could be like a little bigger, but everybody's is going to look different. The shape doesn't really matter. It's just like maybe the texture.
My dough is like sticky.
Okay, you add a little flour on top. Just kind of sprinkle a little on top. Don't be afraid of the flour. That'll only make it, easier to work with. Do you want to maybe show a different angle? Go down like that. Perfect. Yep, you can always add flour. Does not hurt to add flour. I make raspberry ones in the bakery, and that is hard because they're frozen. And so when I'm, shaping it, my hands are just covered in raspberry, gooey dough, and it's just very hard to work with. So this is a fairly easy ingredient to use, is chocolate. How are you guys doing? And feel free, if you want to, turn your camera on, I can take a look at it and see if you're headed in the right direction. But whenever you guys are ready and you think you have a good shape that you like, you can kind of put in the chat yes, or put a thumbs up, or just tell me that you're ready.
I think I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm all good.
Great. You guys are doing so well. Oh my goodness. I thought this was going to be the most difficult part because it can be pretty hard to get it right, but great. Awesome. All right. So next thing you're going to do, make sure you have your pan. You can set it back there, please. Thank you. Get your pan and get your knife. I just have this large one because I think it's easier to use. If you have a small paring knife, that also works. So get that ready. Actually, can you hold it up again? Sorry, I keep changing my mind. My sister is being such a good sport with me. She's a good videographer here. So first you're gonna cut it in half. So you can kind of mark it if you want, get a bird's eye view and see if you can just cut it right in half. So you have two halves. And then you're going to cut each half in half. kind of mark it up, see if it's good. I'm gonna cut this in half. And it also, might be a little sticky on the inside. Your knife might stick to it. That's okay. You can use more flour. Sprinkle more flour on top, and then when you cut it through it, it'll cut through easier. I'm gonna do that to this one. And then you're gonna cut each one of these in half. So these are nice little portion-sized scones. And don't worry if they're not even, that's fine. So you got your scones, and then set them on your tray. This is just how I like to do it. This just ensures that they bake the most evenly. So you can set 3 on each side of the pan, like this. And then just kind of set these in the middle. How's everybody doing with the cutting and the shaping?
I'm doing good.
Okay.
I'm doing good.
All right. Well, when you guys are all finished with that, if your ovens are ready and they're up to temperature 350, you can put them in. Make sure to set a timer for about 20 minutes because everybody's oven is different. We'll start with 20 minutes, and then you might have to add a couple minutes at the end depending on how they're doing. But yeah, that's all there is to it. Cool. Do you want to take these over to the oven for me? Yeah, 20 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. All right, that's
Should I
it.
change the screen now? To go
Yeah,
to-
go ahead. So yeah, if you guys wanna, you guys can take a picture of that recipe, or if you want, and you can put your email in the chat, and then I can send you the recipe. I can even kind of elaborate and make it more detailed for you. So yeah, while we're waiting for the scones to bake, we're gonna go through just a couple little baking tips, baking on a budget tips. Oh, hi Keisha, I'm so sorry, but this is gonna be recorded, so you can rewatch it and make it whenever is convenient for you. So I guess we'll just wait for everybody to have their scones in the oven, and then we'll get started with this short little slideshow. So whenever everybody's ready, just put a chat saying that you're ready, and make sure you set your timer. Whenever I'm at the bakery, I'll be like, oh, I need 2 more minutes, and then I'll like forget because I won't set a timer, and then I will like burn everything. It's so bad. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any like questions before we go on about like baking or anything in general? I didn't realize you couldn't see me. Okay, so I guess we'll go on to these baking tips. These are just what I could come up with. So measuring accurately, like I said, using a scale is actually the most accurate. Sometimes maybe you're making a batch of chocolate chip cookies, and the first time you make it, they come out perfect, but the second time they're not as good for some reason, and you're like, I don't know what happened. I measured everything correctly. sometimes when you're using cups and spoons, you can have like a little extra flour, you know, if you packed it tighter, you know, or with the brown sugar, if you packed it tighter or didn't pack it tight enough. But, you know, nothing against using cups and spoons, but, you know, it just kind of helps to use a scale. And then setting timers, like I already said, you could easily leave something in for more than 2 minutes. And also buying basic ingredients. Baking, you know, the essence of beautiful and tasteful baking is using simple ingredients. It doesn't have to be like the British baking show where everything is like fancy. You use like figs and all these fancy ingredients. All you need is just flour, water, and salt for most breads, and yeast. And then also practice. It's really fun to practice baking because you can, you know, you got the fruits of your labor. You're done, you know, baking cookies and you get to enjoy them, but also learn things in the process. And then, you know, since this is called Baking on a Budget, that's our theme. We have some budget tips for baking. And that's the next slide, if you don't mind scrolling. Thank you. Buying large quantities of ingredients. So 25 pounds of flour equals out to be 30 cents per pound, or, you know, $7.38. That's at Sam's Club. I found that online. But if you buy like smaller bags that you go through quicker, you're actually spending more money. So that can be up to like 40 cents or 45 cents a pound for a smaller bag. Same goes for sugar or like any ingredients. These are just kind of examples, but you know, you can, and then you can also freeze perishable ingredients like butter. You can freeze butter. So if you buy that in large quantities, chocolate, berries, and then also your finished product, so that, you know, if you made, you know, a lot of cookies or muffins, but maybe they went stale, you can freeze fresh baked bread or anything, and it'll be just as good in the freezer. And you kind of eliminate food waste in that way. And you can also, like, you guys probably already know this, but Aldi is great. They have probably like some of the cheapest groceries you can find. Sam's Club is great because you can buy all these things in bulk, and they usually end up being cheaper if you buy more, like I said. And Walmart, of course. And then Maine's is another one. I've never actually been there, but I don't know if any of you guys have ever shopped at Maine's, but they're another bulk grocery store. And also buying store brand can help too, save a little bit of money. So if you want to maybe scroll 2 slides down, excuse me. This is the slide. I love this slide because it says you can bake bread with only 4 ingredients. All you need is flour, water, which is free, or, you know, it's not free, but you just get it from your tap, salt, and yeast. And you can also buy yeast in bigger quantities. And I think it lasts quite a long time in the fridge. And there's all different variations of bread you can make with just these 4 ingredients. You can save a lot of money. You don't have to buy loaves at the store. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's really rewarding. And you can also make sourdough, which is a little more, it's a little like more tough to make because it requires having a starter. Has anybody like, oh, how many minutes in the oven? Did I say that? I'm sorry. 20 minutes. I said start with 20 minutes. If you just put it in now, set it for 20 minutes. But if you put it in like the 5 to 7 minutes ago, set it for maybe 12 minutes or 15 minutes. But we're looking for, you know, sorry, I forgot we had scones in the oven. I got so distracted by talking about baking. You want to be looking for a golden brown, not super dark brown, but kind of like a golden color on top of the scones, and they might still look a little pale, but you don't want to overbake them.
Wait, I have a question. So what's the
Yeah.
difference of sourdough and I guess regular bread?
Yeah, so sourdough, has anybody ever tried sourdough bread or seen like anybody make sourdough bread? It's actually really good for you. It has a lot of it's technically a fermented food. And it has a lot of, I believe there are probiotics in the sourdough that are really beneficial to your gut. And there's a lot of protein in sourdough as well, because it has a lot of kneading and a lot of gluten development, like we were talking about earlier. But yeah, it's really easy to start making sourdough. You just need, and you'd have to look this up online. I'm not gonna, it takes a long time to kind of explain, but what is involved is you have a little jar, you can use a glass jar. You mix water and flour, and that's all, and you let it sit on the counter, and then it develops bubbles, and the it's like a little like wet dough. It just kind of like ferments and the bubbles form, and then you keep feeding it every day. You take some out and you add more flour, more water, and that's how you have start a sourdough. When you're making sourdough bread, you have all the ingredients for bread, and you add the sourdough in, and that adds another like rising agent, kind of like yeast, but it's a little different. It's kind of hard to explain, but that's my best explanation. And I have a little video that I thought was really interesting to watch. This is a video from a bakery in France called Poilâne. And they're one of the best, most known bakeries in the world. And their product line is very simple. All they have is sourdough bread and a couple types of pastries. And that's kind of the beauty of baking, is it doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be fancy or expensive. It's just good if it's just basic. So let's watch this. This is kind of interesting. All they make is sourdough for breads.
Can you guys hear it?
No.
Okay. Sorry, I realized that I was muted.
It's just music. It's just music. I don't know if you like listening to music, but
it's kind of satisfying to listen to. So I'll make myself. Okay. Can you hear it now?
Yes. Yeah, I can hear it.
I love that video.
Yeah, it's like I love watching it. It's so satisfying. Yeah, and they ship bread all over the world. You know, they do. You have to pay like $20 or something for shipping, but by the time it arrives to your house, it's like still really fresh. I think that's so fun. So I guess if you guys want to like check the scones and see how they're going, I didn't check to see what time it was when we put them in the oven, but you set the timer. Set it. Do you want to go check and see how it's going? Yeah. All right, thanks. So yeah, they probably won't be ready quite yet, but if the timer rings and they still look like they're not quite baked, golden brown, that's right. We also have another fun video. This is like learning how to make like banana bread and like a couple other things. This is just like a nice video. And each one of the desserts is only $5 to make.
Yeah, I found this girl, she's on YouTube. She has like a whole channel about like affordable cooking. So she'll talk in the beginning. She kind of talks for a little bit, so I'll fast forward, but she does say in like all these recipes, some of the stuff she assumes you already have. So like flour, for example, or like baking soda. But for the most part, I think it's cool to look up these videos, or we'll show you like cookbooks after, but like there's so many ways to find fun recipes that are easy, quick, and affordable at the same time. So let me play this. Let me know if you could hear.
Hey guys, it's Abby. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am sharing with you
I can hear it.
$5 desserts. So in this video, you are going to see 5 of my favorite go-to desserts that I go to whenever I need to make one. I have used these for at home just to use up ingredients and feed my family something sweet. I've used these for luncheons at work, for gatherings with my family, even for parties, even for feeding guests at my house. So I think that you're going to enjoy. All of these are minimal ingredients for you to buy at the store, and a lot of these you're going to have already on hand. Now, whenever you are making these desserts, I want you to keep in mind that whenever I was pricing these, I considered that a lot of these ingredients you already had on hand. So for instance, flour, you're gonna see in a few of the recipes. Well, I'm not going to consider a...
Oops.
Hey guys, it's happen for you next month.
This banana bread looks so good when she makes it at the end.
These are my 2 loaves. They're really full, so I could have gotten away with doing 3 with this recipe.
I don't know if anyone else always gets like TikTok baking videos, but like I can watch those for days.
Could we pause just for 1 minute so we can kind of do a check-in on the scones? You guys go ahead and I mean, you're probably keeping an eye on it, you know, but go ahead and check. I'm gonna go check on mine myself, just to see how they're going. Sorry, I have babysitting kids at my house, so I didn't want to go upstairs, and one of their moms was coming to pick them up, so my sister's gonna go check on it. So how's everybody else doing with the scones? How are they looking?
Mine are looking pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did anybody's timer ring?
No, I have a minute left.
Okay. I estimate they'll probably need another 2 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes, depending on your oven. Or maybe they're ready now. You're just looking for a little bit of golden brown. You don't want it to be like dark golden brown. But you don't want them to look like any bit like glossy or buttery either, because that means they're a little underbaked.
Should I resume the video in like a couple
Yeah,
minutes?
go ahead. Yeah, thank you.
Just let me know when to pause again.
Okay, thanks.
I guess if you didn't have this like blender device, I know you can like crush things with a plastic bag and like crush it yourself.
Okay, I guess we'll do another check-in with the scones.
Maleah, someone just said in the chat about their scones.
Okay, let me look. I came upstairs to my oven. I'm gonna show you guys what mine look like. My timer went off. My scones are still a little white. Me too. Let me show you. Mine are pretty white too. I don't see any golden brown yet, but they're rising, which is good. I can see on mine they're still a little glossy, so that means they will still be underbaked if I take them out. So set your timer for another 2 minutes. It's good to do 2-minute increments in baking too, because if you do 1 minute, it doesn't quite give the oven enough time to get up to heat again to continue baking. If you do 2 minutes and then check on them again, I think they should be pretty close by the time you do 2 minutes.
For the interest of time, we could also talk about these books that we found.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the books. Yes. I found the first two. Do you want me to talk about those?
Yeah.
First. So the first one is called Poilâne: The Secrets of the World Famous Bread Bakery, and this is from the bakery that I showed you guys earlier. And she's a French baker. But this is a really interesting book. It kind of tells you like all the different aspects of bread baking, and it's really interesting read. And then also Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat is a great book, not only for baking, but for cooking and learning about food in general and how, salt, fat, acid, and heat work together to make food in bread. So that one's really good too.
And then I found this everyday cookbook. I found a lot of cookbooks, but this one kind of stood out to me because it's labeled as healthy, but it's also, meals under $10, and it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And in one of our past sessions, we talked about sometimes like when people hear the word healthy, it also could mean expensive. So I feel like what we wanted to, get across is that there's very like affordable ways to also eat healthy, to like hit all the nutritional food groups. So this cookbook has a lot of those recipes, and they're made for multiple people. So like if you wanted to ever cook for your family or something like that. But also, there's so many cookbooks online. You can always just look up pictures of recipes, and there's also videos like that video that I was showing that's from your YouTube channel. And then in the chat we were talking about TikTok, so I always find recipes on there that are really fun and honestly good.
I love TikTok for that reason. There's so many, I've learned so many things from TikTok, even like that tomato feta thing. That was I think I made that like 5 times for my family. It's just such a great resource. Yeah, if you have TikTok, highly recommend.
So yeah.
Okay, how are the scones going,
more?
everybody? I think it's been about 2 minutes. I'll show you mine. I think they're still kind of pale. You can also do like the poke method. It should spring back. It shouldn't like, be mushy in the middle or anything. I think mine could use another 2 minutes. Set a timer. Does anybody have their scones already?
Yeah, I do. I took mine out a little while ago.
Oh, awesome. Cool.
Are you able to show
else?
us on the camera?
Yeah, I would love to see, if you guys are comfortable showing, I would love to see how the finished product came out for you guys. And just be careful though, because if you try to pick it up while it's still hot, it might fall apart. So you're gonna wait at least 10 minutes to handle the scones. And I think they'll be good to sample in about 10 to 15 minutes too. Would you mind switching to gallery view again, please?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Did anybody else take their scones out yet? Or are they still kind of waiting on like the 2 minutes?
Mine's just still in the oven.
Okay. That's good. How about you, Shelly? Did you put yours in a little later? Because you might have a little extra time than everybody else.
Yeah, I had to put it back in.
These are soft.
They're soft and like flat.
Okay.
They're all stuck together.
That's okay. I think they'll still come out. And again, this is a practice, and it's like a process. So, maybe you'll make these a couple more times. And I actually encourage you to, if you're able to get the ingredients again. You should definitely try to make the scones again. And like the more you practice, not only with scones, but with everything, you'll get better and you'll have more consistent results when you're baking or cooking. You guys like to cook too? Like what kind of things do you guys like to cook? Or does anybody do like the cooking for their family sometimes? I know I do.
I do as well.
Sometimes I make like mac and cheese for my family, or like pizza.
Love that. Mac and cheese is so good. I like making potatoes. I know that's like really simple. I love potatoes. There's so many different ways you can cook them. Like you can roast them, or you can make like home fries or French fries. I just love potatoes. I'm gonna go check out my scones again because 2 minutes can do a lot actually. Okay. And another thing, if you're brave, and I don't, do this at your own risk, you can kind of check the underside and see if mine are a little bit brown on the underside, which is good. I would be devastated if I dropped my iPad into the oven. This meeting would have immediately be ended if that happened. I think I'm gonna give mine another minute. But yeah, I guess we didn't have anything else to like present, or I didn't have anything else to teach. But I guess if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat, or if you want to email me, I'm happy to answer any questions about baking, or again, I'll send the recipes to the people who wanted them. But yeah, you guys did great. I didn't see anything that you guys did, but I have confidence that they came out really good. And even if they didn't come out the right shape or anything, they're still going to taste really good. So.
Did anyone have any more questions or comments?
I'm just excited to eat these. I've been looking forward to it all day. But I think I'm going to take them out, and I'm going to set this down just for a second. Oh, they're perfect. I'm going to turn the light on so I can show you guys what it's supposed to look like in the end. I don't know if you can see that.
Those look nice.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I think this one is really good. I like this one the most, I think. I know I said not to touch them, but mine are decently baked. That you can see the underside is supposed to be more brown than the top. But yeah, it's really, it's okay if they look pale. Like this one is maybe a little pale because it's larger and it was towards the middle. But there's only really supposed to have a little bit of golden brown on like the edges here, maybe on the bottom. Yeah, I would say these came out pretty good. They're better than my test batch. I did a test batch the other day and they weren't as perfect as in the bakery. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this process. I had fun. I love teaching baking.
Here are mine. Let me see if I can show you.
Yeah, I would love to see.
They look like this.
Oh my gosh, great. Wait, look at that. Wow. That's awesome. Pretty good. Anybody else take theirs out of the oven yet?
I did, but I'm like on a desktop, so I can't really move it.